Hi, today we'll be making something for the current CodePen challenge, namely textile patterns, and we'll be starting from the given template, which includes 4 patterns. And as you can see here in the CSS, there are quite a lot in terms of code, and we can simplify this to about half, maybe even a third of what it originally is. We're going to see about that. So let's get started. We have the exact same structure. This fabrics div is going to be our grid, so set display grid on it, grid template columns, and we're going to have repeat auto fit. We don't even have autocomplete for that. And if you don't know what the deal with autofit is, don't worry, it is complicated, and you can check out this article. It's going to be linked in the description, and in particular this demo, and you can play with it, play with the number of elements, compare how autofit versus autofill behave for different justify content values. So for example, you can use space between or space evenly. Okay, I'll quit playing with it, get back here. It's going to be linked in the description. Now here, the column width is going to be a base column width. We want a base column width, but we don't want this to exceed the width of the fabrics div, so we're going to limit it to 100%. So the minimum between, okay, and then also justify content center. And one more thing here on the swatch, yeah, we don't have autocomplete for this one either. Aspect ratio, basically we want something square, so square tiles. And let's set background so we can see some stuff. Okay, now the first pattern is a rhombic pattern, and here it's created with 2 linear gradients. Thing is, we can simplify this and create it with a single conic gradient. And again, I wrote an article on this. It's going to be linked in the description. Now let me just show you a similar pattern here. So basically you can consider that a rhombus is made up of 2 triangles here, and we're going to have the same background size box. Okay, so let's see it a bit better. So you can see how this is basically half the rhombus sliced along the horizontal axis, and this is another half a rhombus sliced along the vertical axis. This is the small rhombus angle, this is the big rhombic angle. Together they add up to 180 degrees. Okay, and we don't start from the default gradient start, which is at 12 o'clock, but we start from the diagonal. Okay, so this is our 0% line, and this is at half the small rhombic angle away from the vertical midline. Okay, so we're going to need the small rhombic angle, and this helps us compute the conic-gradient angle, which is going to be half of it. So let's put that into code. 60 degrees, and conic gradient angle is going to be half of that, right? So here we're going to have a repeating, and we don't have for conic, so we don't have autocomplete for conic. Now why I say repeating, because we have this part right here up to here. This is going to be one color, then another color up to here, and then from here, from the 50% point, it just repeats itself, so you don't have to write things twice. That's why we use repeating. So from the conic gradient angle, yeah, if I could type, that would be great. Red from 0% up to 180 degrees minus the small rhombic angle. Okay, and then we're going to have violet, or actually we could use minus here and just use the rhombic angle, something like that. It's the exact same thing. So up to 50%. So for some reason that didn't work properly there. Let's see it. Okay, now it works nicely. And let's see proper colors. Okay, so and here if I remember correctly. Okay, but we're going to need to set a proper background size, right? So let's see how we compute those dimensions. Now you can see that right there we have a right triangle, better seen in this figure. So this is the rhombic edge, the hypotenuse of this right triangle, and we assume we know this. We already know this beta angle, which equals that small angle right there, right, the complementary of alpha. So knowing this edge, the hypotenuse, means we can compute this edge and this edge, but this edge is half the background size width and this edge is half the background size height. So twice the hypotenuse times the sine of half the rhombic angle gives us the background size width, and twice the hypotenuse times the cosine of half the rhombic angle gives us did I say twice? Twice gives us the full, without twice we have half, right? So yeah, like that. Let's the rhombic edge length, let's say that's going to be 4 m, so the edge length of the rhombus. Then we're going to compute the width of the background size box, and this is going to be twice that edge length of the rhombus times sine, and we're going to need to use this SAS module. Yeah, if I could type, that would be great. Okay, so half the rhombic angle, and we're going to take this, and then we're going to have something similar for the height, except that's going to be cosine. So here we have background size. Let's see it. Okay, much better. Now the next step is going to be these lines. Okay, so we are going to use a line offset, and let's say that's going to be 0.5 pixels, and we're going to have a linear gradient, and we're going to need to compute a linear gradient angle. So that's going to be 90 degrees minus half the rhombic angle, the small rhombic angle. So here we're going to have the linear gradient angle. We're going to have transparent up to 50% minus that line offset, and then we're going to take this and have something very similar. So HSLA 0 saturation, okay, for white 100%, 0.1, then we're going to have 0, something very similar, except this is going to be width plus, and then again transparent. Okay, you can see the line right there. Now we can offset stuff like this, and you can see now it's in the middle right there. Good. Now we can take this list of stops and set it as a custom property. So our list of stops is going to be exactly what we had there. Okay, so that part. Now we are going to take this and use the minus angle, and that's it. We have our pattern. Now this pattern right here is, let's see, so it's over 600. Okay, now this one, so it was 636, and let's see the compiled CSS. So you can see it's under 300, so that's less than half. That's pretty good. So as I said in the beginning, somewhere between half and a third. And now we can collapse this part and move on to the second one, right? Let's see it. So it looks kind of like that. So let's neglect those diagonal stripes for a moment, and you can see how we can have a sort of a conic gradient pattern. Let's get back here. So for example, to something kind of like here, where you see every quarter is something else. So the default is from 12 o'clock. So you have 1/4 something, 1/4 something, and so on. So that's pretty much what we'll be using there. So let's say, and of course conic, but we don't have autocomplete for that. So transparent 0 up to 25%, white up to 50%, and we want to have sharp transition there. Then again we're going to have transparent up to 75%, and then black. Oh, and one more thing, if you don't know what the deal is with these two stop positions, now we can use multiple stop positions, and it's actually pretty well supported. It has good support, and I talked about it in an article which you can check out. It's going to be linked in the description. So yeah, let's get back here. Okay, so we have something like that, and we are going to want to have a square edge length, for example. Let's say that's going to be 1 m. Okay, so having done this, we are going to set a background size to twice of that, actually, because that's just one of the tiny squares. Okay, so it's going to look something like that. Good. Now after doing this, we are going to want to have another, so a repeating linear gradient at 45 degrees. So we're going to have black and white stripes. So let's compute the diagonal. The diagonal is going to be the edge length times square root of 2. So we are going to have something like this: black up to 1/4 of the diagonal, and then white up to half the diagonal. So something like that, and you can see it's a bit offset, so we are going to minus half that, minus 1/4. Okay, perfect. That's the pattern we wanted. You can see it right there. Okay, now a little thing here, grid gap. So something like that. We already have two patterns. Let's move on to the third, which is a zigzag, right? Okay, so again, this can be done with a conic gradient. So that's the start. So one square is going to be this part right there. Actually, we're going to use two conic gradients, but here I believe, so the one that we just did, but we just finished, let's see that one as well. I didn't select it all, but whatever. So it's over 544, right? And let's see the compiled version right here. Okay, so it's about a third, which is pretty good. That's what we're aiming for, somewhere between half and a third. Now for the zigzag, I said we're going to consider that as being the background size box, and we start from that diagonal of the square, so that's going to be from minus 45 degrees, and we have white for a quarter of the circle, and then the rest is red. So let's see that red, and we're going to get the white. I think I remember the white. So background, and as I said, linear, because we don't have autocomplete for conic, from minus 45 degrees, and then we're going to have that white. I hope I remember that correctly, up to 25%, and then we're going to have that other color, the red. Actually, we don't need the 0 right there. Okay, so it's going to look like that. We are going to decide upon a size, so let's say something like 7 right? So let's set background size so like that, and then we're going to have a second conic gradient, which is going to be very similar to what we have here. It's going to be on top of what we have, so this is going to become from 135, and this is going to become transparent. Okay, so it's going to look a bit like that, and we're going to offset by half the size. Let's see it. Okay, so it looks kind of like this, and you can see we have a jagged edge there, and we also have a jagged edge right here. It's not the same jagged edge, but we have a jagged edge in each version. How interesting. It's a Chromium rendering issue, and I don't like it, but it is there. So let's see. Originally, this was a bit over 300. And now here we've reduced it to let's see it, about 150. So yeah, about half. Okay. Now let's collapse everything we've done so far. And the last one. Now this one, you can see how this one I went from 4 gradients to 2. The previous one I went from 3 gradients to 2. The first one from 4 gradients to 3. Now for the last one, I can't reduce the number of gradients, and I can't change the type of gradients to simplify things. So I will just be taking these gradients and simplifying them, simplifying the stops, and still getting the same result, because that's the point of it. So background, those 2 gradients, right? So now we're going to take the second value for each, second of 35, second of 40, second of 50, second of 60, 70, 80, 90. Did I click that? 110, 120, and for the second one exactly the same. So 5, 10, 35, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. This is the most demanding part of this live coding video. Clicking stuff. Clicking stuff is difficult, okay? Now we're going to change that. Okay, so like that. Now that we've done that part. Now everything that has an alpha of 0, those are sharp transitions, okay? So if we have an alpha of 0, the other components don't matter. So you can just write transparent. And another place where we can simplify things and make it more readable is get rid of that 0. And now you can see again we have that double stop position there. And one thing to notice is that this part up to here, so there it diverges, we have 120, here we have 140, but up to that point everything is identical, so we can take it and use a stop list. So stop list, use it like that, and again here as well. Now we still need that background color. Let's see it. Yeah, right there. Let's bring up DevTools. So that one and the background color, let's change the format. Okay, like that. So now it still looks kind of big to me, but the original is bigger. Let's just see. So originally this was, okay, quite big. And let's see what we got. Okay, so that's less than a third, which I think is pretty good. Now I will be leaving it here. I won't be tweaking anything any further. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you like the work that I'm putting out since early 2012 and you want me to be able to do more in the future, please consider supporting it. You can do so by being a cool cat and becoming a patron on Patreon. Or if monthly support is not your style, there's the option of one-time donation. Or you can make me happy with a gift off my wish list. Or you could at least share this to show the world what can be done in CSS these days, because honestly I think it's pretty damn cool. In any event, thanks for watching, and until next time, bye!